YouTube friends, welcome back to the shop. Today in video 4, we're going to go over some tools that I'm going to be using today. And what we're going to do is we're going to take down and make this casting deck that we previously laminated to the boat in video 3. We're going to make the top of the casting deck level with the top of the gunnel. Now, a few tools that I'll be using today is a 4.5 inch just regular grinder. I have a 40 grit paddle wheel on here, and this thing works really good for taking off any big lumps of fiberglass that could be built up in any areas that are really high. It'll take it down fast. It doesn't matter if it's fiberglass or what we have here is birch plywood. It takes it down really quick. The other thing, once we get done with that one, is we'll come back with this 6-inch sander. This is 80 grit paper on here, and it's a flatter area. So what we'll do is we'll take and work this area between the wood and the fiberglass gunnel, and we'll get it nice and smooth and level. That way we can take all the high and low out of the top of the deck and the gunnel. That way when we laminate this top, it'll look nice and smooth and flat. One way to check your work is a basic framing level. You can stick it on the deck here, and you can go across the gunnel and the deck plywood, and you can look for air gap in here. If you have air gap, you're still too high. If you don't have any gap, you're probably right. All right, now that we got the top sanded and we pretty much got all the high and low out of it, there's still a few little voids in here that we need to come back and fill in before we laminate the top. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use some Dyna Glass. And this is basically a resin with microfiber fiberglass chunks in it. And so we'll use this as a filler to do the fine line finishing on this top deck where it laminates to the gunnel. One thing I do when it's cold like it is, so it's pretty thick because it's not warm, you can take a little bit of your polyester resin and mix it in. And what this will do is this will thin down, so to speak, the thickness of this Dyna Glass. It won't be so thick, won't be so hard to apply. It lays on smoother. So I'll go ahead and stir the resin in, mix it in real good. Makes it look really glossy. And I can tell just by now, just by mixing with the resin in it, that this Dyna Glass has really gotten a lot more smoother. It's gonna apply and lay down a lot better. All right, so this is our cream hardener, this blue cream hardener. It's kind of cool outside today. It's probably 75-ish. We're going to activate this Dyna Glass. So we add our hardener. Now the Dyna Glass, we need to stir it up really good. Mix it really, really good. Mix the hardener in. You want to scrape the bottom of your cardboard like I'm doing real hard, because a lot of times this glass is just Dyna Glass going to lay on the bottom and you won't get a good mix of hardener. You'll end up having sticky spots in your work. You'll have to go back and clean that out, and then go back over it again with some fresh Dyna Glass to fix those areas that might not got activated good. So I'll just clean off my stick here. Get him out of the way. So I got a couple screw holes here I need to fill in real fast, and basically just cover those guys up like so. And on the front of this deck here, I want to level. I want to make the front of the cast deck pretty smooth. So if you see what I'm doing over here, I'm just wiping a little bit of Dyna Glass on the front, just so we get a good smooth edge. So when we go to laminate this guy, it'll be nice and nice and smooth. All edges will be nice and smooth. It'll just come across him like that. Get our excess, we'll wipe the bottom. A little bit of residue is okay. All right, that's all we had to do there. Now we're gonna work on these edges here. We'll come in and same thing, we'll lay us a starting edge of putty down. Just take our time, fill in any voids. It's okay to be liberal with this stuff. It sands really, really easy. But don't create yourself a lot of work, but you can be liberal with it. Okay, it's looking really good. One thing I do is I get a good glob, wipe it on, and then I just pull it along the area I'm working. Come back, grab the excess, and just wipe it down. Pretty simple. Leave yourself plenty of material on here to sand off, so when you do go to sand, you got enough material to sand down to get where you need to be on your high and low. That way you ain't got to come back and do all this again. Put you a nice little pile right there. Just pull it down. Not too much pressure, just a little bit. Come back with get the excess. Just work it real nice and pretty. Easy going. This is going real good. Nice and pretty work. Okay. We'll start right here. Same thing. I kind of angle my blade to where when I pull the Dyna Glass, it pulls it towards the center of the boat instead of letting it fall on the outside. Real simple like that. And one of the reasons I put that resin in this Dyna Glass, if you look, and it flows real easy. See how easy that's just laying in there, how it's just rolling in? That's what you want to see. Come out here and just make sure everything can be nice and covered. Look for any bad spots, any little air pockets that may come up. That one right there just won't go away. All right. All right, so now we got our Dyna Glass in. We got the front, this area nice and smooth. We got about a 1/4 inch roll on here. So when we go to put our 1.5 ounce chop woven, it'll be easy for it to make that bend. Anyway, we got our high and low set nice and pretty all the way around. And we're ready. The next thing we're gonna do now is start cutting out our chop, our 1.5 ounce. All right, so we got our mat laid out. This is 1.5 ounce chop woven. One thing I like to do, being that we're gonna laminate over these corners, just coming through here and just come in here and just squeeze this stuff, loosen it up, and that'll help you make these corners and these bends real well. We've got it laid out. We're gonna put 2 layers. This will be our first layer. I'm gonna start mixing the rest. I'm gonna add in I have roughly 1 gallon of resin, and I'm gonna add in about 12 cc's of the cobalt octane. You always want to stir your cobalt octane in first before you add your MEKP, your catalyst hardener. You don't want to combine them together at the same time. They'll start reacting. All right, so I'm gonna mix it at about 1.5%, so I'm gonna put 80 cc's of MEKP hardener. We'll put our first coat of resin on. We'll lay it on pretty thick because this birch plywood is soaking this stuff up pretty fast. Now I got one side soaking pretty good. I'm gonna carefully roll my mat over. Try to keep the wrinkles out of it as much as possible. I'm gonna start wetting it in. I always like to start working my edges first. They're usually gonna wanna pull up and stand up on you. Get them wetted in real nice and heavy. Don't want to leave any dry spots. All right, this side looks good. Same thing, we'll just start over here. We'll wet all this dry wood real heavy. Leave nothing dry. All right, so we got our 2 layers of 1.5 ounce mat put on. It's all rolled out nice and pretty. It's curing. Starting to get tacky. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get the hooch, this big plastic box. And we're gonna cover this guy up and put the heater in there and let it go ahead and cure. And then next thing we're gonna do for video 5 is we're gonna move on to the floors. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe and like. Thank you. Right here you can see the deck's done. It's in the hooch and the heater's heating it up. It's starting to cure out nicely. Thank you for watching.